Today, we're diving into a really powerful modern myth. Think of it as a parable about truth and all the dark, forgotten corners where it tends to hide. So let's break down the uncanny journey of the jester.
So it all starts with this one, single, really cryptic line. It's basically the key that unlocks the entire story. Who is this guy? And, what in the world does it mean to be the living, breathing embodiment of everything a society decides it isn't?
To really get the jester, you first have to understand where he comes from. And its home is this kingdom that, get this, doesn't define itself by what it is, but by what it shoves away, what it excludes. It's a whole society held together by a kind of silent agreement to just not name certain truths, to let a certain kind of decay fester in the dark.
Okay, let's really dig into this, because it's like the philosophical engine of the whole story. The kingdom, that's the self. It's the order, the rules, the way things are. But the central idea here is that a self can only really understand its own shape by defining what it's not. That's the not-self. All the chaos, the rot, the uncomfortable truths that get pushed to the very edges. And our jester? Well, he's born right there, in that margin.
But before he was the jester, he was just a guy, and honestly a pretty hollow man. He used this sharp wit and mockery, but not to reveal any truth. No, he used it to hide his own emptiness, his own internal void. In a way, he was a symptom of the kingdom's rot, not its cure.
And then, everything changes. It happens in this place of transition, a corridor, right outside the king's hall. This is the threshold where this man basically runs right into his destiny, and it shows up in the form of a really, really strange artifact.
Now, this is not a mirror made of silvered glass. It's supposedly made of the collected truths of other people. So when our hollow man looks into it, it doesn't just show him his own face. It takes the light of his soul and literally breaks it apart, revealing this hidden spectrum inside him he never even knew he had. It doesn't reflect, it refracts.
So you can see the whole transformation happen in 4 pretty clear steps. First, he's just the hollow fool. Then, the mirror appears, the catalyst for everything. His soul gets refracted into its true components, and from all those shattered pieces, something totally new is forged. He's not a man anymore, he's an instrument of truth.
And this brings us right to the core concept, the uncanny. This isn't just about being spooky or weird. It's about seeing something you know really well, a custom, a belief, even a person, and all of a sudden, it seems strange, alien, unhomely. This becomes the jester's main weapon. It's the mechanism he uses to force the kingdom to finally look at the rot it has so carefully, for so long, agreed to ignore.
So now he's an instrument, and he starts his mission. But this is no hero's journey, climbing a mountain to a throne. This is what the story calls an inverted journey. It's a deliberate descent down through the world's failures, and as he exposes others, he's also stripping away his own masks. He calls these his 3 dances.
His first stop is the churchyard, a place of public mourning, of sacred ritual. He shows up not to confront death itself, but the whole performance that we build around it.
And this is where his power is on full display. In the churchyard, he becomes this truth-telling monster. He doesn't mock their sadness, he refracts it. He shows them how that loud public sorrow is often just a shield against our oldest fear. Or, even more uncomfortably, how it can be a performance masking a secret, guilty sense of relief.
His second dance takes him from the dirt of the graveyard to the polished marble of the gilded hall. This is the heart of the kingdom's power, a place of deals and petitions. And it has a silent witness.
For 47 years, a stone angel has been standing in this hall. It was commissioned to represent divine approval, but instead, it's become this silent record keeper, noting every single dishonest deal, every broken promise, every cry for justice that was just ignored.
The jester doesn't even say a word here, he just triggers the angel. It releases its 47-year burden as something called the Blight of Revelation. It's this cold white light that washes over all the lords, and suddenly every face is completely readable. It exposes a kind of sincerity that has totally forgotten how to examine itself, revealing it's really nothing more than raw appetite wearing fancy clothes.
All right, the final dance is a stark departure. No crowd, no public stage. Just a tiny 6x4 stone room, a prison cell. And here, the jester's whole method changes profoundly.
And this is where he evolves. In the churchyard and the hall, he was a force of exposure, right? But here, in the silence of the cell, talking with a high priest, the instrument learns a new function. He stops just being a truth teller and becomes a truth finder. He actually listens, and in doing so, a truth emerges that's bigger than him, bigger than the priest, bigger than both of them.
So, now that we've seen him in action, let's take a look at the tools he uses. Because these are not just props for some fool. Each one is an instrument with a hidden, ancient, and sometimes pretty terrible purpose.
You see, each of his instruments has this double nature. That scepter, which looks like a silly little toy, it's home to a 300-year-old gargoyle, an ancient memory that acts as the jester's counterweight. The bells that a fool would jingle at the wrong time, now they ring with the finality of a judge's verdict. And his colorful motley costume? It's no longer a disguise. It is the refraction, the very lens that makes all those hidden truths visible.
So after descending through all the world's failures, where does an inverted journey like this end? Well, not in a throne room. It ends at the highest point in the entire kingdom, the lonely, wind-swept pinnacle of a cathedral, the one place with enough elevation to see your true destination.
And up there, he doesn't meet a king or some god. He meets the great star. This isn't a being of good or evil. It's this cosmic entity of pure, unconditional presence. It's been shining since before the kingdom was even a thought. And its light, it falls on everyone, the good, the bad, the noble, the ignoble, with absolutely zero judgment.
Which, of course, leads to the ultimate question. After this entire journey, after being forged into an instrument and dancing through the darkest parts of his world, what was it all for? What is the final purpose of being the jester?
And this is his profound realization, what he says to the great star. His purpose was never to be the truth or to be some source of moral light himself. No, his purpose is to be a prism. His job is to bend the existing unconditional light of reality into the shadows, to make it fall on the surfaces and into the corners that direct light can never, ever reach on its own.
And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? The jester isn't just a character in some old story. He represents a function, a way of seeing the world. So the real question becomes, what rot have we agreed to ignore? What performances are we all accepting as truth? What uncomfortable realities in our own world are just sitting there, waiting in the shadows for the right angle of light?